we know from Lumix themselves, that's right, Lumix themselves, that there is going to be a new camera announced next Tuesday. It is going to be, right? You looked at me real quick. Did I get the dates wrong?
No, you're good.
It's the 25th, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So the
2 p.m.
25th, I don't know, 2 p.m.
London time.
Okay, yeah. So it's going to be 8 a.m. our time. Lumix has already shared on their YouTube that they are going to be doing a live stream. That's so crazy. Live streaming. Interesting. I love that. So we're basically looking at a new camera that should be announced. Lumix is going to live stream the announcements of this. I personally messaged them to ask, how long will this live stream be? And what can we expect from this live stream? You know what they told me?
What's that?
They left me on red, my boy. They do not like your boy. It's very clear. They don't like your boy. It's all good. So it's absolutely insane to me that, so much is already starting to come out about this camera. But last week we sort of talked about what we thought it was going to be. And we pretty much are leaning very heavily to this being the new Lumix S1R II.
Yes.
Now, word on the street, Lumix shooters should be happy.
Yeah, you're not going to be peasants no more.
Oh, no. You're definitely not going to be peasants. On top of the fact that you probably won't be peasants, I'm willing to bet there are probably a few people who are not like, they're not like Jarrell. They're not like ride or die Canon fan people. They're like Canon fan extras. You know what I mean? Like, they're just kind of strolling in the background, just like, whatever happens, happens. If I show up, I show up. If I don't, I don't. Whatever. I'm willing to bet that this camera, from what I have heard, is probably going to make some extras in these different brand spaces. Even maybe some Sony people.
Well, let's
look at this camera and go, dang, this might be worthy to switch.
Let's pull up Bryce's comment.
This is a very interesting point. He says, is this, or he doesn't say is this, but I'm reading it as, could this be a R5 Mark II killer? Do I still have the button on here? Oh! Shots fired, Jarrell.
The answer's no.
Bro, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. No.
So, do we have any of
R5.
the...
yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any of the rumor specs on this thing right now? All right, so let's read those rumor specs off right now. This is coming from L Rumors?
Yes.
All right, what do we got?
Got a 44 megapixel high-speed sensor. Ooh, 1 pixel shy of the R5 too.
The pettiness? I'm
just saying.
The pettiness.
I'm just saying.
1 pixel, my guy?
I'm just saying.
Lumix, shooters.
You're a killer and you're one down?
Hey, that's because they unloaded that one in the clip, you know what I mean? They one down because they got one off.
Oh, I see. You're copying Canon's pixel shift. You have 176 megapixel high res sensor shift. Oh, that's cool.
I'm sorry, Lumix shooters. I gave this segment to the wrong person. I forgot he was going to be incredibly petty about
8K open gate.
Okay.
That's cool.
That's big.
Except for, I'm sorry, I'm mixing this with the R5. But you know what we do.
You're ridiculous.
R5 Mark II firmware upgrade to OpenGate.
When is that coming?
Before
Tuesday?
Hopefully. I think so. I think CP Plus is there's lots of rumors. So who genuinely knows when it's coming? But I think this is the reason why. This camera right here is the reason why they're doing OpenGate.
Okay. I'll let you keep going with the specs.
All right. So 6K ProRes RAW. That's cool. The thing that I'm excited for in this, camera is 32-bit float audio. Now, I'll be interesting to know if this is internal or if they got like a little handle or something. Because I don't think that we've seen a camera with 32-bit float audio. And it's got a red record button in the front of the camera near the mount.
But that's kind of been their staple for a minute.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you, this is the thing that makes it a little interesting. So I've got on Sony rumors here.
Yep.
That this new camera is rumored to actually, you ready for this?
Yep.
Sport a Sony sensor.
It's easy to come in second place. That's the wild part. When you obviously they have their own tweaks, their own engineers.
Right.
This sounds like I'm not hating on Lumix. I'm just saying it's wild when you use other people's sensors. Wild. Are you going to get the best out of that Sony sensor? Or is Sony going to get the best out of that Sony sensor?
I'm not even sure Sony's using this sensor because this is a 44 megapixel Sony sensor, and like you said, it's going to have it can shoot 40 frames per second.
Yep.
10 frames mechanical.
Yep.
8 stops image stabilization.
Yep.
It can
pre-capture. It's cool.
It's got pre-capture, 8K 30, 4K 120 without a crop, and then 8.1K open gate. But they're saying this is going to have to release later with the firmware update.
Yep.
It's at least what Sony rumors is giving us, right?
Yes.
Now, the one thing that I do think that's very interesting about this camera when it comes to video shooters is they are sporting this as having 32-bit float audio internal. Now, we saw this on the GH7, but that required an external piece.
Yes.
I don't know this information yet, if this is actually just going to do straight 32-bit internal.
Yep.
Because the hard part about doing 32-bit internal is like the microphones on the actual camera are not going to be good enough to do 32-bit. So it's going to somehow have to be able to bring a signal in and then be able to do 32-bit internal, right?
And internal RAW.
So I got a question. All of this is supposed to come in at $3,500.
Allegedly.
This is all alleged. But if you want to get mad at somebody, go get mad at Sony rumors. Chat, my question to you. Lumix gang. Shut up. Canon fan people. Shut up. Everybody else. What do you think about this camera and the R5 II? Where do you think they really sit? Because I get it. You have your biases. That's fine. It's okay to be biased. I'm biased. Lumix gang, y'all been forced to be quiet for so long. I'm asking you to be quiet for like 2 more minutes. Who else in the chat? I want to hear from Scott. I want to hear from. Wait, does Will shoot? Does Will shoot Sony?
Baxter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
But
I want to hear from the Mr. Camera Junkies. I want to hear from everybody else. What do you think about these cameras? And which one is going to actually reign supreme? Because I don't think Canon shooters are going to jump ship. I don't think Lumix shooters are going to jump ship to the Canon R5. I think both of these cameras are really solid. I think where this camera wins is how it moves everybody else.
Yeah, so I can be objective in this. It being $800 cheaper than the R5 II, magnificent. You're pretty much the same camera. So great. And you do better in audio.
Yes.
Great. That's it. That's the only thing. $800.
But are you saying that the Canon is significantly better in all the other things? Because I don't think same doesn't move. Better moves.
So this is what I will say for me. I haven't touched this camera from Lumix.
Yep.
I have touched the R5 II and loved it. So I can't say that it's better or worse, but I'm going to say on paper, it's at least same.
Yeah.
And I would say $800 isn't enough to move me in the direction of Lumix.
Well, I know that there's I know a few people who probably went to Norway is currently in the chat and they're trying to be very quiet. But
I kid.
I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding. Ryko. But I want to know from you guys, do you think, because like this is a serious question that I have about, these brands. Like I look at Nikon and I say Nikon without red as a brand is not a mover. Like in the video space.
Or to this point has not.
No, I don't think they could have been. I mean, like this is me being transparent.
Oh, no.
If Nikon doesn't acquire Red.
Gotcha.
I don't think people look at the brand of Nikon saying that is a brand I want to shoot on.
Yeah.
Right? People do that with Sony all day.
Yeah.
You don't need, like, if somebody requests, like, hey, what camera should I get? You know, you can say, oh, yeah, you should look at a Sony, and they'll just, like, accept that brand, right?
Yes.
But if you say, oh, you should check out this Lumix, they're going to be like, is Lumix good?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or if you say that about Nikon, if you're like, oh, you should look at this Nikon camera for video, you're like, is Nikon good at video? And you're like, yeah, let me tell you about all the stuff they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Canon was another one of those brands because they've owned it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Does this camera open people's eyes again who were not Lumix shooters to being like, this is, like, Lumix is back out front and willing to be a brand that we can get behind? Because this is going to be, in all intents and purposes, their new flagship.
Mm-hmm.
So this sets the tone for every camera that comes after it, which I even said when the GH7, J7? Is that the newest one that had the RE thing on it?
Yeah.
When that one came out, I was like, this is great, but we just need a full frame, throw everything at it, flagship for us to look forward to.
Yeah.
So then you have your ladder up to the top.
Do you know what this feels like, Lumix, as a brand?
What is that?
It feels like when you hear those talks about your rapper's favorite rapper. This is what Lumix feels like.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, like I'm being real, I'm not saying. I think that you had to go so far down a rabbit hole, get so frustrated with Sony, get so frustrated with Canon that you're like, there's got to be someone else out there that's cheaper, that's just as good quality, that they listen to their customer base. Although, dude, this camera is 6.5 years in the making. Like this refresh from this lineup, they've been waiting a long time. But I feel like anybody that shoots Lumix has decided to go off the beaten path and maybe, like, I don't know, like, you know, just decided to do something off the beaten path. And so I will say, your normal everyday user is probably not shooting Lumix, but if they wandered off the path and they found Lumix, then they probably swear and love it.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of the same vibe I get from Lumix shooters. Like, their quality is great. Like, everybody I've seen, I know I gave it a lot of, like, heat. A lot of it was because it was just funny. And I love roasting Kofi because I know that man has not woken up once to go on a photo walk since he's gotten back from Japan. But but the S9, from everything I've seen from it, looks great. I'm actually in the middle of a project right now that was shot not almost all, but like a good chunk of it was actually shot on the S9.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks great.
Yeah.
Like, and they baked the colors in. We're just handling post-production on the process, so I didn't actually, like, you know, shoot it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just handling post, and it looks like a great camera. I have never had a problem with the images that come out of the Lumix. My question is the L mount the mount people want to lock themselves into? Because I still firmly believe that, like, your mount is sort of like picking your Android or iOS, right? Like, it is the wall garden that you get yourself into. That's one of the reasons why I like the Z mount is so flexible. So that's a little bit easier for me to choose to step into. But I wonder, is the L mount, and I know they make great lenses.
Yeah.
The L 24-70. When I paired that with the S5 II, I remember thinking, like, whoa, this lens is different. It was big, but it was, you know, it was very clean. It looked great. It got me the closest to Leica colors I've ever gotten.
So I've heard, and this is just me throwing this out there.
Yeah.
I've heard the L mount is extremely versatile.
In what way? Like, it's
in terms
adaptable?
of what it can adapt to.
So L can't go to.
The only one that I know for sure.
Scott, gotta answer this.
The only one I know for sure it can't go to is RF, but I think that's more on Canon.
That's a flange distance issue.
Yeah, and Canon not allowing anybody to go to RF for that matter. But L can go to EF. L can go to PL.
As everybody can.
L can go to M.
That's more Leica.
For Leica, yeah. And L can go to... It says it can go to Nikon, but I don't know if it's talking about the Z mount. Because it looks like Nikon F mount.
Oh yeah. Well, so all of those have such larger distances that
For sure.
makes sense. I feel like everybody can go to those. Kofi called me out. He says that's a lie. I have Toronto prints to prove it. Send them, and they better look like sunrise. It better be blue hour in the morning. I'll be able to tell. I'll be able to do sun tracking. Jay Cook says that Lumix is Kendrick. I don't like that. He says Drake had all the push from jump, then got destroyed for sending shots at the little guy. Well, I mean, if you're trying to say that Lumix is the little guy, I might be inclined to agree with that part. Jay Cook says autofocus is strong after updates. So I will say, when I did shoot with the S5 II, the reason why I could never fully invest in Lumix back in the day was because their autofocus was not very good. And I think it held them back for a while.
Yeah.
But I have heard good things about their cameras moving forward, that their autofocus has definitely gotten better. Cam Mackey says, L can do everything except mirrorless to mirrorless. Nikon is the only one. And so that's what I thought because of the distance.
Yeah.
And so Nikon's the only one that's going to get you that ability to go, into another mirrorless mount.
Yeah.
And that's why I've even heard.
So if you have modern glass, you're not good.
Yeah. So, and that's where, especially with these new mirrorless cameras, I think the battle, B don't like that.
Well, at least
Sorry.
Cam is.
Doc.
Cam is ultra disrespectful.
All right. What is it? All right. The real question: which camera company is Kendrick and which is Drake? Safe to say, Canon is Drake.
Dude.
Hey, I can put some holes in the back of that hoodie for you if you want.
Hey.
And I got a smoke machine back there.
Hey.
We can just pump it up.
Hey. We told you last week, for 500 million, we'll ride off into the sunset. I'll be Drake for 500 million.
Hey, thanks so much for checking out the Uncensored channel. Do us a huge favor. If you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to join us live every single Friday at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. We have so much fun and we want you to be there. So subscribe so you don't miss it.